Hey everyone, Scott here, and we're excited that you are kicking off this year by getting into a group of other people and just to get to know each other and hang out. So a couple things we want to go through before you kick off, before you start. We want to kind of lead you through a process for you to begin to think about and talk about what this group will be like and what it could look like this year. A guy named Saint Athanasius from the early 300s said this. He said, "He," meaning Jesus, "became what we are, that he might make us what he is." So what he's not saying is that Jesus came so that we could become God. No. What he is saying, it seems to be what all the authors of the New Testament are echoing about what it means to be a follower of Jesus. That Jesus came, put on human flesh, so that we could become more like him, be made in his image. Here's what Paul says in Ephesians 4, verse 22 through 24. He says, "We should put off the old self, which belongs to our former manner of life and is corrupt, and through its deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness." Paul says later in Colossians to the church there, he says, "The reason we came warning you and teaching you with all wisdom was so that we may present everyone mature in Christ." John, the beloved disciple of Jesus, says in 1 John 2:6, he says that whoever abides in him, Jesus, ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. And he's not talking about strut or stride, he's talking about life. He's saying that whoever claims to be a follower of Jesus needs to live like Jesus. So here's what we're after. Here's what we really hope happens in your group this year. We hope that you become more like Jesus. We hope that you grow to do the things that Jesus would do. That's it. We hope that you become more like him and that you would want to do and that you would grow to do the things that Jesus would do if he were you. And so the reason that we have prayerfully considered the leader that's sitting with you and the adult host that's among you is the reason we've put those things in place. The reason we've been talking to our leaders for months now about what it means to lead a group like this and we've been preparing them and training them is all so that there would be this atmosphere, this environment where you could become more like Jesus and that you would grow to want to do the things that Jesus would do if he were you. So, in your group, here's what I'm going to have you do. Here in a second, I'm going to push pause, and I'm going to throw it back to you, and you're going to go around the circle and talk about these things. The first one is this. The first one is easy. It won't take time. Don't spend too much time on it, but it's simply, what's your small group experience? What kind of experience do you have in a setting like this? So if it's, never been in one before, or I've been in one for years, or I was in one last year like this, great. Okay, but just go quickly around and talk about that. That'll be helpful for everyone to get a feel for where everyone's coming from. The second one is this. Why did you sign up for a group? Why did you sign up for this? Motive matters. And so you may have all kinds of different motivations. Some of you may have wanted just to get to know some new people, and that's great. We love that you signed up and that you're in this. Some of you signed up for this and jumped into this because you want a Bible study. And that's great too, and we're glad you're here. And some of you signed up when you heard it's going to be meeting in a home because you want some free food. So maybe that'll happen, maybe that won't. I'm glad I'm glad for all those reasons. I'm glad you wanted to connect in that way. We just hope that over time that your motive for wanting to be in that would grow from the reasons why you came into ultimately, so that you would become more like Jesus and desire to do the things that Jesus would do if he were you. So that's the second question. The third one will take a little more time. I want you to imagine it's May, okay? First week of May. Finals are over. You get some time to reflect back on the year, and you get some time to think about what this group has meant to you and how they have encouraged you and how you've had experiences together, praying together, laughing together, eating together, confessing to one another, challenging each other in sin or in pride or in busyness to grow like Christ and do the things that Jesus would do. I want you to think about what put yourself at the end of the year, think about this year and how this group has helped you become more like Christ, and answer this question. What would it require of you, of each of you, in order for that to happen? So that one will take a little more thought. What's it going to require of each of you to help create this kind of place where you can grow to become like Jesus and do the things that Jesus would do? So I'm going to send you back into your group. We're going to push pause, answer those questions, and I'm going to disappear, and Rachel's going to come up and give you something more to think about and something more to discuss. Enjoy.
Hey guys, Rachel here. Want to take just a minute and talk with you a little bit about what happens when you first get in a group and what that looks like, what the group looks like as it progresses. So initially you have your first few times of hanging out, and usually maybe you just even feel a little bit awkward. You might know another person in the group, maybe two, but you're getting to know each other, and maybe it's just even a little bit like, I don't know if I feel comfortable talking yet, but we're starting to get to know each other, and we're starting to do a little bit of life together. You move past that, you start to really feel comfortable with each other, and you start to feel like you can open up and I can share my secrets with you, and this is a safe place that you guys are going to love and care for me, that we're going to do this together. And then you get to a point where we're really in this, we're doing it together, community's happening. What are we going to be about? Who are we? What are we going to do as a group? You move through that phase and you eventually get to a place of maturity where you really are. Biblical community is happening. You're loving and caring for one another. You're being the hands and feet of Jesus. And it's just that sweet spot. Once you hit that, you don't ever want the group to end because it's just an incredible place. But the problem with these phases is it typically takes a group 12 to 18 months to reach that really mature level that we're going for. And so obviously we don't have 12 to 18 months, right? We are working with a school year. So that's kind of the bad news, but the good news is that we can overcome some of that by being super intentional and just by some hard work. And so I think of kind of an illustration would be, how many of you guys have gone on a short-term mission trip, or maybe you participated in basketball or some kind of camp? So you're gone for maybe 5 or 10 days and you're with these people nonstop. And what happens by the end? You're super connected, right? You've maybe even established some friendships that will last for a lifetime because you've just had that chance to bond. And so obviously we don't have 5 or 10 days to just throw you all together and let you spend that time, but you can be incredibly intentional about being serious about your group and the steps that you can take to make this happen. And so I've got a couple of challenges for you. The first one is I want you to start praying for the members that are in your group by name. I want you to ask God to give you a heart for them, that you would see them the way that Jesus sees them, and that you would be able to love them the way that Jesus loves them, and asking how you can serve them this semester. I want you to do that as often as you can, daily if possible, but spend time in prayer with God for these people that you're going to love and be loved by. The second thing is, so many times we can show up to a place and a couple of you might know each other, but the truth is, even if you were in a group with Madison last year, this group is totally new. That means that everybody in this group is new. And a lot of times when we're new to a place, it's like we show up and we kind of sit back and it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm new, so you can come with the welcome basket now. Everybody can come greet me or whatever, right? But that's not the case because we're all new here. So I want you to really be intentional to pick one person, at least one, in your group that you are going to reach out to, that you're going to welcome. Preferably maybe somebody that isn't normally in your crowd, whatever that might be. Maybe somebody that you're thinking we might not have a ton in common. Reach out to that person, let them know that you're so excited to get to know them and that you can't wait to do life with them. Then the third thing is I really want to push you a little bit. For those of you that have more of a quiet personality and you tend to wait to respond to questions or to give your input, possibly you wait even a couple of weeks, I really want to push you. I want you to start sharing now, and I want you to share more than you feel comfortable sharing. I'm not saying you have to give your whole life story, but I want you to go past that comfort zone just for the sake of the group and for the sake of Jesus doing what he wants to do in that group and building that community. That's my challenge to you. And then for some of you, maybe you're just a lot more talkative and that comes easily for you. I want you to hold back a little bit. I'm not saying you can't talk, but I want you to be aware of the fact that a lot of times somebody who is just, it comes more naturally for them to share when you do that. Some of those others who are fine with just being quiet, that can keep them in their comfort zone. And we really want to stretch to get everybody out of their comfort zone so that we can bond and we can have this great community. That's what we're going for. So we're going to hit pause. I want you to take just a few minutes to go around the circle and kind of share. Are you naturally more quiet, and is that a struggle for you to be open, or are you more talkative? And maybe even sometimes with people that are very talkative, maybe they're more surface level, and maybe it's harder for you too to go deep. Maybe you're okay with doing some of the small talk, but when it comes to really sharing things of the heart, that's more of a struggle for you. So let's hit pause and let's just talk about that for a minute.
Hey guys, it's Drew, and I just want to wrap up this video by sharing with you a few things that you can be doing in your group to foster community this year. In the spirit of full disclosure, we've stolen these from a guy by the name of Randy Frazee, who's a pastor and an author of a number of books on community. He's got this book called Connecting Church, and he shares kind of a handful of things that foster community within a group. I just want to focus in on 3 of those for a moment. Those are frequency, availability, and spontaneity. Frequency refers to this idea of consistency within the group, that we are regularly meeting with one another, that we are regularly together, and that's why our groups meet once a week and not once a month and not every other week. We have them meet weekly because there is value to that consistency, value to seeing one another and interacting on a regular basis. And that's also why, as individuals, we want to encourage each of you to make this group a priority each week, to make this time a priority, and do whatever you can to not miss it, because it's good for you to be there. Even if the topic isn't particularly exciting to you that night, or maybe if you don't feel really fed or that you learned a lot from the group, there was value just to you being there and interacting with the people in that group. There was value for you, there was value for the group itself and the community that's being built by that regular, consistent interaction with one another. The second is availability, and that refers specifically to this idea of being available to serve and meet the needs of people within the group. So this can be as simple as, hey guys, we need someone to pick up snacks tonight for the group, and you jumping out and saying, hey, I can do that, and getting there. It can also be as big as a particular person in the group who is going through some very difficult times, whether that's the loss of a loved one or a breakup or just a really stressful phase of life, and you being available to that person, to be a listening ear and to be praying for them. Availability becomes huge for community. And I want to encourage you for just a moment to be proactive in your availability and not just reactive. That is, don't just wait until someone shares a need. Often the truth is that we don't do a very good job sharing our needs with people around us, especially in a group that we're kind of new in and that we're just starting to meet. And so rather, if you just wait for someone to share their needs with you, you may wait all year without getting to hear much, but if you're seeking people out and asking how you might be able to help them, this is why there's some groups that do prayer partners, in which each week you're partnered up with a person that you're going to be praying for and you're going to meet up with during the week and kind of check in on them. But we love that idea because it allows you to get to know a person and know what is going on in their lives and how you might be able to be available to them and to be able to serve them a little bit more. So frequency, availability, and the last is spontaneity. This refers to the idea of doing things outside of the structured, formal, set meeting time, outside of things in which you have an agenda, just as simple as saying, hey man, I'm going to grab some lunch, you want to come with me? Or a few of us are going out to the driving range, you should come along. And doing things, it doesn't always have to be off the cuff, it doesn't always have to be out of nowhere. It's more about doing things that are in the regular flow of your life. more than just a meeting, more than just a study, more than just a discussion, that outside of this group, that outside of this meeting time, we're interacting as friends in the flow of life. And when those things are taking place, along with availability, along with frequency, when all of those are taking place and the Holy Spirit is at work in us to draw us closer and to build up a love and bond between us, then some really great community can take place in our lives, and we can find some friends to encourage and love one another in our walk with Jesus. So I want to wrap up with this question for you. Actually, it's two, and that is to go around the room and ask this: which of these three things are you naturally strong in? Like, it just comes easy to you, and you're going to probably do pretty good at that this year. And then, which of these is going to take a little bit more effort for you? Which of these might be a stretch for your personality, and you're going to need to be more intentional about? Go ahead and do that. Hey, we hope that your groups are going to be good this year, and we will be praying for them, that you will build a community that is encouraging to one another and life-giving for you, and that is ultimately honoring to God.